Instead of taking a sledgehammer approach to brain disorders, which is what we're doing today, with technology like Inscopix, we can peer deep into the brain when the subject is actually interacting with its environment.
At a NASA research facility in the heart of Silicon Valley, neuroscientists are working on a microscopic camera that can record individual nerve cells, or neurons, as they fire inside a living, working brain. A startup in nearby Palo Alto called Inscopix developed this tiny device. The company's science director took me inside the NASA animal lab where they test their product on mice, like this little guy.
So I'm gonna put it back in his cage.
Right now, he's doing a little bit of digging. There's a little docking station right on the animal's head. And this allows us just to attach the microscope. So the microscope is what you see on top.
The whole thing depends on some pretty crazy science. They start with a special virus and inject it into the mouse. The virus bores into the nuclei of the furry guy's neurons and changes DNA there so the cells will glow. But they only glow when they're hit with a special light and when the neurons fire off. To see the neurons flashing, researchers surgically implant a microscopic optical needle into the specific part of the brain that interests them. The microscope plugs into a brain docking station straight out of the matrix and streams video of brain activity to a computer screen. All while the mouse scurries on about its mousy business.
Each one of these flashing dots you see is one brain cell. So we're looking at a live picture of information transmission within the brain.
That's crazy. Do you remember the first time you ever saw this in action, and what did it feel like?
Yeah, I was extremely excited. Before, I was trying to record from these cells. You see one cell at a time. And the very first time that I saw this many cells, 1,000 neurons light up, it was transformational. We've had techniques to analyze the brain on a whole scale, like MRI. And we've had techniques that allowed us to record from individual neurons. But if you actually want to understand how the brain functions, we have to visualize multiple cells that are working together to perform a particular function as an animal navigates its space.
Inscopix does just that. It films brain cells while a mouse wanders around its cage or during an epileptic seizure. It can even capture the symphony of neurons inside a songbird's mind. The brain camera started its life as a research project at Stanford 10 years ago. But it proved so popular, its developers thought labs would pay to use it, even at $60,000 to $100,000 a pop. And so Inscopix was formed.
I was always a scientist, even as a little girl. And with technology like this, it's exciting because with a thorough understanding of how the brain is actually operating, we're starting to develop the ability to control it, to potentially alleviate devastating brain disorders.
In San Francisco, at the Gladstone Institute of Neurological Disease, researchers use the Inscopix microscope to live stream the brain as mice make basic decisions.
Are you looking at the brain up close, or what's the...
So we're really interested in how the brain functions during behavior. So we measure the behavior of mice as they make economic decisions about what to do and what kinds of rewards they're going to get.
What's the application in humans?
There are a number of neuropsychiatric diseases where value-based decision-making has gone wrong. Addiction, I think, is probably the most prominent one, in which people have decided that obtaining and using drugs is really the main action that they want to perform. And then, of course, diseases like depression, where patients have lost the motivation to, perform any kind of action, really. As we understand more specifically how cells control basic decisions, we'll be able to develop entirely new strategies for treating these diseases.
About 200 labs already use Inscopix, and the company has raised $10 million in funding. DARPA, the Pentagon's sci-fi research arm, just gave them $4 million to create a device that can be hardwired into the brain and restore vision for some blind patients. Futurists in Silicon Valley believe that decoding how the brain works will help us build a new generation of computers that are more powerful because they resemble human intelligence. Or maybe it'll be the other way around.
I always enjoyed a range of sci-fi movies when I was growing up, and these concepts are coming to life, like a merging of a computer with an active living brain. The sky's the limit, really.